This is an episode of Raw Doggin'. This is where I show you my raw, ungraded issues before I send them in to get grading. And this is a very special edition of Raw Dogging because the day that this video releases, July 14th, is the very first day that PSA is accepting magazine grading submissions. It has been a long time coming, and we are finally there. And I got a lot of requests from people to say, hey, I want to see what you're sending into PSA. I thought, yep, that's going to make a perfect episode of Raw Dogging. Normally, I only send in 5 issues at a time, but on my inaugural submission to PSA, I'm going to send in 10 issues. They're all modern issues, and I'm going to warn you up front here. These are not all like perfect, pristine issues. This is a test submission. I purposely wanted to send issues that had specific flaws because I want to see how PSA treats those flaws as it relates to the grading standards that we're all familiar with CGC. So let's get started here. Number 1, the Donald Trump Time Magazine from August 5th, 2024. This is a variant, actually. I can't remember who else was on the cover that week. It might have been Kamala Harris. Look, be an adult, all right? We're not going to delve into politics here. Quit being a child, okay? We can collect controversial people and not delve into all of the controversial aspects of those people. This photograph is absolutely historic. People will be showing this photograph 50 and 100 years from now. It'll be in history books. That's why it's so important. It's not necessarily because it's Donald Trump. It's because it's history and it's iconic. So this is the famous Donald Trump Time Magazine cover from August 2024. This is absolutely all day a PSA 8. Or I'm sorry, a PSA 9.8. This is a PSA 9.8 all day long. So going to be very interesting to see what we back up. This is a CGC 9.8 all day long. I guarantee you that. So it'll be interesting to see what grade PSA gives it. Will it get a 10? There is no 9.9 in the PSA grading scale. Will it get a 9.8? Am I totally off base and this is a 9.6? This is what this whole submission is about. It's testing out to see if I can better identify where PSA is going to land on their grading standards, and this is a great example. Like I said, that's a CGC 9.8 all day long. Love this Tiger Woods cup. Look at that. What a beautiful full face shot. Tiger and that great smile of his. This is Sports Illustrated from March 2nd, 2009. Interestingly enough, Lance Armstrong, before his political or sports downfall, and his doping scandal that he went over. This is where people still love Lance Armstrong. So again, love how these mark these moments in time. This one has got some flaws, mostly spine ticks, but it's got a lot of them. I think this is probably a CGC 8.5, maybe a 9.0, but I think 8.5. So we'll find out how it comes back. I've always loved this issue. Lebron James in his Cleveland Cavaliers uniform. This was the first stint with Cleveland. So this was December 28th, 2009. Again, some very noticeable spine ticks. You may even be able to see one there. Yeah, you can see that guy right there. Spine tick that breaks color. It's got a bunch of other ones on there. I think this is probably a CGC 9.0, maybe a 9.2. Going to be really interesting to see what it comes back from PSA and how their grading standards are. This is a great one. Brett Favre, first Sports Illustrated cover from January 15th, 1996. This is a beautiful piece. It's in great, absolutely spectacular condition. I did own this one in 9.8. I think there's still 3 at 9.8. I owned one of them, recently just sold it on Golden. It has some very, very minor flaws. I think this is a CGC 9.6. Will be interesting to see what PSA gives it and where their grading standards are. Here's a fun one, ultra modern. Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. That's Libby Dunn on the cover. Now, I'm not a big Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue guy. I like some of the vintage ones, especially some from the 80s and 90s. But Libby Dunn is what is Libby Dunn? In addition to being Paul Skeen's girlfriend, she's an influencer, I guess, content creator. She was a gymnast at LSU, was one of the first to land a massive NIL deal when that came out, and now I'm not quite sure what she's doing, but she's certainly all over social media. This is her Sports Illustrated cover. This is the new batch of swimsuit issues that just came out, literally like a month ago. So 2025 swimsuit issue. I think there's 4 people on the cover. Libby Dunn was by far and away the most interesting and likely the most collectible out of that batch. This is a CGC 9.8 all day long. 9.8 CGC all day long. We'll see what PSA does. One of my all-time faves. You know. You watch my videos, you know I'm a big Dennis Rodman fan. Entertainment value through the roof with Dennis Rodman. Look at him sitting with that bird. He's got like a leather bustier on. There's suspenders at the top. I mean, the guy was out of his freaking mind. This is his first Sports Illustrated cover. This came out, where's the date on this one? There it is, May 29th, 1995. This one's got some issues. I think it's probably a CGC 9.2. I absolutely love this issue. Came out in May 1995. He was technically a member of the San Antonio Spurs when this came out because the Bulls didn't acquire Rodman until October of that year. But this is that's going to look amazing in a PSA slab. All right. I haven't gotten this one graded before. I had trouble finding this issue in good condition. This is the Caitlyn Clark Time Magazine cover. So let's talk about this. This is her first Time Magazine cover. This was the Athlete of the Year. Came out on December 30th, 2024. I've talked about it many, many times. Ultra-modern copies of Time Magazine are super condition sensitive. It is just a very fragile magazine. The paper is very thin. The ink comes off very easily. You've got the classic red Time border around the outside, which looks beautiful. But that red ink, that dark red ink, is going to show flaws really, really easy. This one has a corner problem that can't be fixed. There's a tiny, just a tiny little spine split right there on the corner. You're not even going to be able to see it probably, but it's right there. This is a CGC 9.4 in my opinion, so I'm really excited to see what PSA does with that. You knew I had to get a Caitlyn Clark magazine in my first PSA submission. Love this one, Luca Donic. And what I love about this Slam magazine cover, this is Luca's first magazine cover in a LA Lakers uniform. I mean, LeBron is, he's LeBron. He's well over 40 and his career is just about over. Luca is the future of the Los Angeles Lakers, and I wanted definitely to have a copy of this one because it's the first time in his Lakers uniform. This was May 2025. Couple of small flaws here along the spine. This is a CGC 9.6. Excited to see what PSA grades it. Okay, couple left here. This is probably the one in the worst condition out of all of them. And again, I'm intentionally sending out issues that aren't in the best condition, but have very specific flaws because we got to find out where PSA's grading standards are. And keep in mind, there's a difference between the grading scale, which PSA has adopted from CGC. 10, 9.8, 9.6, 9.4, 9.0, 9.2, 9.0, 8.5, 8.0. That's the scale. The standards are what condition does it have to be in to get an 8.5, to get a 10, to get a 9.4. That's what I'm really trying to find out. Dominique Wilkins, this is not his first cover, but it's his first solo cover. April 28th, 1986. There's a number of different flaws. There's some foxing and staining on the inside and the back. I wanted to see how they address that in their grading standards. Big old nasty spine tick that breaks color right there. A little bit of a staple tear. I think this is probably a CGC 8.5, maybe an 8, probably more likely an 8.5, but a beautiful looking Dominique Wilkins cover. That's his second cover. And now we're wrapping it up with Kobe and the Survivor issue. This is, it's the date on this, June 12th, 2000. Difficult to get in a high grade. Lots of black ink, especially along the spine. But this issue is absolutely pristine. If one of these gets a 10, fingers crossed. Man, wouldn't that be amazing? Pop a 10 in your very first PSA submission. If one of these gets a 10, it's this one. It is in spectacular condition. It's a CGC 9.8 all freaking day long. And I'm hoping, here's what I think. Could be totally wrong, totally speculative on my part because I've got no idea where PSA standards are going to sit. but my guess is it's going to be very similar, in the sports card world. BGS 9.5, kind of the same as a PSA 10. I see that happening here. CGC 9.8. If it's a 9.8 CGC, it's probably a 10 with PSA. My guess is that's how the grading standards are going to shake out, and I'm fine with it. And I really don't care if CGC, or PSA rather, is tighter or looser on their grading standards. What we always want, what is the most important thing when it comes to grading standards, is consistency. We want consistency. We want to know that this flaw, that's a 9.2. We want to know that it's got this tiny little problem here, but it's still going to be a 9.8. We want to see consistency in grading, and that's what I'm hoping for more than anything. If your standards are going to be lower or they're going to be higher, that's going to be pretty easy and quick to figure out, and then we can plan for it. But if the consistency is all over the place, then you're just kind of, you're shooting in the dark here because you don't know what you're going to get every single time. Love this. Love watching this. By the way, I kind of changed up my social media. This is something I've been meaning to do. My social media has always been CGC Sports Illustrated because I primarily collected Sports Illustrateds, and CGC was the only company that graded magazines. But now the PSA's in the mix. I've changed my social media a little bit, so you can still find me on all the social media platforms. If you still search CGC Sports Illustrated, I still should show up, but I've just changed all my accounts. The vanity name is just my name, James. So you'll see that. You'll see a new profile picture, kind of just a little freshening. First time in 5 years since I created all these accounts, and with good reason, with PSA coming on board. Hope you enjoyed this. I appreciate you watching. My comic and magazine cleaning and pressing service. My wait times are getting better, I promise. And I think I'm probably I've expanded my capacity. I've been busting my butt to get caught up. I'm thinking probably in the next 2 months here, my wait times are going to be back to what they started at when I first started doing this. And that's, 2 to 3 week wait time. Not quite there yet, but we're close. So if you're interested in my comic and magazine cleaning and pressing service, drop a comment here. Find me on social media. Shoot me a DM. Videos are coming. I promise I'm going to have a lot more videos and cannot wait for that first PSA unboxing video. Appreciate you watching. Thank you.